Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Repurpose Live, where we inspire you to live on purpose and create a life you love by design. My name is Lissafiggins, and it's my mission to help after 40 women like you to design your life in 7 key areas so you can experience more growth, more balance, and more impact as you live out your purpose. And it's my intention each and every week to introduce you to an amazing woman who is also on this journey and inspiring others along the way. So today I'm excited to introduce you to my friend Karen. Karen Altfest is a personal wealth advisor, and she specializes in educating and empowering women and widows with their specific money needs and teaching them to be a financially savvy woman. Who doesn't want that, right? So today in our conversation, we're going to rethink how to position ourselves for financial strength as we think about our future as women. So Karen, I want to welcome you to our show and thank you for being here. And start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today, helping women think right about their money and their future.
Well, thank you, Lissa. It's so nice to be here. When I grew up, girls weren't really welcomed into the world of finance. It wasn't expected. We didn't ask for it. We were polite little girls. We did what we were told. And it was the brothers in our family who got the education. And somehow, even though I acquiesced, it never felt right to me. I was never comfortable with that. I really wanted to have equal opportunity. I didn't think of it in those terms exactly, but I knew I wanted to do more for myself. And as soon as I became a little more mature and a little better educated, I took my rightful place at the table with women, and women are often told that this isn't a profession for them, and they're still believing it. And I don't think that's true. I think women are really wonderful in this profession. But I just imagined a lot of women had the same upbringing I had, weren't doing anything about finances, and would suffer later in life if they didn't see the light and try to learn a little more, change a little bit, and do things in a new way. And so my husband had established a financial advisory office, and I would come by and see what was going on, and people would talk to me about their issues. And we had great conversations, and I thought that that was very nice to learn about all that. I couldn't do anything to help them. So I went and got an education in being a certified financial planner, and things changed very rapidly. People welcomed working with a woman advisor.
Wow. I love that you had that vision before that was really the status quo. And like you said, it's even something that a lot of women are still not seeing as possible today. And so you worked beyond that. So, you can help anybody, but you specifically have chosen to help women and also widows. So tell us a little bit about that, and why is your heart drawn to that particular type of woman? Because my listeners are women, and we like to say on the show, they're either after 40 already or they will be one day. So yes. I always like to say to my younger friends, start asking these questions and learning from those ahead of you earlier so that you don't make some of the same mistakes we do, and let our hindsight be your foresight. So what drew you to women, and specifically what also drew you to helping women who are widows?
Well, the women in my practice are why I go to work every day. I mean, I have relationships. My husband, who is a top investment guy in this profession, says when Karen talks to her women clients, I don't know what they're talking about. It's a different language. And I love that. I really love that. I love what he says that. And I love that he means it, that he's a little awkward in this sphere. I'm not awkward. These are my friends. I mean, this is why I go to work. And I have made a lot of really great friendships. We go to the opera together. My friends and I, who are also my clients, we go to dinner together. Not everybody, but a lot. People live all over, and my office is in New York. But I just love that opportunity to get close to women. I'm very flattered when they confide in me. We at our firm have a place that we just call the parlor, and it's for women to go in and tell personal things about their lives if they want to. A lot of women, they've caught on and they say, I'd love to talk just to you in the parlor. And
wow.
Love the conversations we have. They're very, very special. They're very personal. They're not only about their finances, they're about their lives. And that's what I tell my husband. I don't know that he listens. I say, you help people with their investments. I help people live their lives.
Yes, right. I love
How
that
could be
because
richer? Yeah.
that's my heart, is to help women look at all 7 areas of their life. Finances is one piece of it, but we also cover faith, family, and friendships. We talk about our field of work or business. We talk about our finances, of course. We talk about our mental and physical wellness and fitness. And we talk about fun, right? And are we enjoying life? And I love the fact that you see that finance piece as a part of that wheel, right? As one piece of the pie, and how that works together. And I think that, that's something that we as women, I think oftentimes we have that more holistic look at things. We see the interconnections from one area of our life to another. And then it sounds like, you're having those deeper conversations to really get into women's hearts and hear about their struggles and hear about their dreams and, and the emotions that often come around finances and what it allows us to do, or the ways that it holds us back.
Right. I think it's very rich. And I think a lot of people really want to talk to another woman about what
Mm,
did you do in this, or what do you think I should do? And of course, I probably do see a lot more women than they do. They know their life and
right.
they know their best friend's life.
Mm.
But over the years, I've seen many, many women struggling or being very, very successful. And so we can talk a lot about that, what other people have done or are doing.
And there's something about talking to someone who is like you're an advisor, I'm a coach, someone who's that third party, right? Who's not emotionally connected to us in our world, and not emotionally connected to our stuff or our bank accounts or our relationships, who can have a little bit more of an objective view and just help us to see the things that maybe we can't see. So when you're talking with women, like let's talk about this, because I think women have a unique perspective on money and finances and things like that. So what are some of the things that tend to come up as you're having these conversations with women around how they feel about it, how they're thinking about it, what they're doing? I mean, it can touch a lot of different things, but what things seem to be unique for those conversations you have with women?
Well, certainly a lot of is about home and family, the
Mm,
best places to be, the best ways to do things. I find that a lot of people and my women clients like they're thinking about estate planning and they have 6 children. They want to divide everything equally in 6 ways, but
mm,
one may not be able to work due to some illness. Another may be a very successful professional at something. And I'm not sure that's always the best way, and you have to think it through. So estate planning comes by loud and clear. Retirement, how they'll be one day if they get to have the retirement that they hope for, and hopefully that will come to most people at some time. They'll get there, and they may be reluctant to plan, but I want to go have fun now, and retirement's 25 years away. So
mm,
talking all these issues through is very important to my women clients. And of course, for women whose life has taken a different path, if they're divorced, if they're widowed,
mm.
they have different issues, and they're very, very important. And we have to look at all aspects of their lives and what they want to do now. Sometimes they're trying to carry on their husband's legacy by doing what he wanted, and
Right,
he may be gone for many years, and they're not enjoying what they're doing. And so we have
mm,
to think about that. How do you see your life in 5 years from now? How do you want to live it? And we go
right.
from there. Yeah.
Right. And I had a conversation yesterday with some women around money. So it's so fun that we're having this conversation today. And one of the things that they talked about was this one woman, when she did go through a divorce, she was not the person who was involved in the finances before. And so all of a sudden now, she had to be thinking about things that she had not ever thought about. She didn't know where bank accounts were. She didn't know what passwords were. She didn't know what was being put into, savings and retirement and things like that. And so just that being involved in the process, even if you're in a relationship, so that if something were to happen, you would be able to, pick up that ball and keep going with it. uh,
Yes, knowing as much as you could know, peeking over somebody's shoulder, learning a little more, taking a
right.
class once in a while. I find that a lot of my women clients are very reluctant. We recently had a tax seminar for our clients, and I got this call from a woman, and she said, "You know what? I could come to that, but I'll never understand it. Can my accountant come instead?" And
uh,
of course, her accountant was very welcome. On the other hand, usually I say to women, you should come if you learn one thing more than you knew before. It was worth an
exactly.
hour of your time. you know.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. I love that. So we live where we call the Figgy Farm, and we have a lot of trees here. And my husband is a tree
nice.
lover, and so he is. Just the other day, he texted me from the store in town and said they've got a few more of these trees. Like I'm going to buy some. And he always tells me the best day to plant a tree. When was the best day to plant a tree? Was 30 years ago,
Yeah.
and when was the second best day to plant a tree? Is today. Right. So that's how he justifies wanting to buy out more trees so that, 30 years from now, we'll have these beautiful trees on our property. I think the same can be true when it comes to finances, right? It's like, I'm sure, there are people who are listening who are thinking to themselves, oh my goodness, this is the theme in my conversation yesterday. These women were not really paying attention to what was coming in, what was going out, what they were saving, investing, that type of thing. And so always it's better to start early, but it's never too late to get started. So why is it important to start thinking about and planning for your financial future now, regardless of if you just hit 40, you're well past 40, or you have a ways to go to even get there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love that analogy, planting seeds today for your future,
Right.
because most of us, pretty much all of us, will get there one day, and we'll be
Mm-hmm.
happy that we started earlier. And if you start later, for example, if you start using a retirement plan like an IRA right now in your 20s, in your 30s, you're going to end up with so much more money than if you start even in your 40s. It makes a
Mm.
difference. It's not the kind of thing you should put off. And if somebody like an employer of yours is offering you a gift, they're going to match your contributions. You can't go back and say, I'm 40, I'm 50, I never did this, but I
Right.
want you to match my, you know what they're going to say to you. See you. They're not going to be interested. They're not going to help you. You should have done it all the way along. So these are the kinds of things you want to prepare for your future. And the more you know about it and the more you're prepared, the more likely you are to get there. One of the worst things we could hear as financial advisors or wealth managers is somebody comes in and says, will I be okay in retirement? And you say,
Mm.
well, let's look. When is retirement? And they say last month. And you say, well, let's look at what you have, because that's what you have. And, but if they come to you and they still have 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to retirement, you can really help them make some very, very wise decisions.
Mm. And that's why having a trusted advisor is so key, and starting to ask those questions, but well before you get to that place of needing it, knowing that we can't always control everything that's between here and there. And we know with what's going on in the world around us and what's happened in our economies and all of that, it's changed a lot of things. So if someone's listening today and she's thinking to herself, okay, this is me, she's raising her hand, she's saying, Karen,
Yes.
yep, I'm that girl that should have started 20 years ago or more, but I can't go back and change that. So right now I'm going to put my stake in the ground and say, I am going to start being intentional in my finances. What would be some practical tips or things that you would tell her as places to start
Well,
moving
first
in
of
the
all,
direction?
I think that's great. I don't think there should ever be any judgment and look back.
Right.
All that have done something in their 20s and 30s. Somebody just looked at a painting that I made when I was in college, and he's an artist. And he said, boy, you had talent. You should have kept this up. And never occurred to me that I wanted to be an artist or anything
Mm.
like that. But even if I did, what would I do? I'm not in college now. I mean, you
Right.
start from where you are. And I think it's fabulous at any time. Let's look at what you have. Let's start now. I think people could take courses. I think many colleges offer them. I think you could join the AAII, the American Association of Individual Investors. It's AAII.com. I think it's $29 a year to get their magazines, to be invited to their conferences, for which, of course, you will pay your way. And to learn more, they have speakers in all the major cities around the United States. I think that's a wonderful way to learn, and they have at all levels. You don't have to be
Mm.
an investment genius. I mean, maybe they'll teach you to be one, but you
Right.
have to start
You may
off.
find a new hobby, right? When you start getting into some of these
Yeah.
things and say, oh, I like this. This intrigues me.
And I think taking financial literacy seriously, I think the whole United States is way behind. They're just introducing schools and colleges to have courses that you need to take before you graduate. And I think that's a
Mm.
wonderful thing. I think we're a little late coming to that party, but thank
Right.
goodness we're doing it now. It's fabulous. So take advantage of all this. I think you could buy yourself a copy of the Wall Street Journal. Don't be afraid of it. It has movie reviews, it has restaurant reviews. and it'll teach you a little bit about what's going on in the economic world and the financial world. So, it's nice. Tell yourself you'll read it once a week or something. If that's, I'm okay with playing mind games. If that's going
Right?
to work for
Exactly.
you,
If it just
I'll do
gets it
that
in
once
you.
a week. Yeah.
Exactly.
And the same with financial books. I mean, if you can find a good one that'll help you, that'll teach you how to teach your children more about finance, so they won't be asking these same questions. I
Mm.
would suggest there's one by Beth Cobliner, or there, if you're a new widow or divorced or something, there are lots of books for you around there.
Mm.
And just read one, see what happens. Maybe in 6 months you'll read the next one. I don't expect that to replace your favorite novel, not
Right.
even your TV series, but but I do think that there's a place in your life for that, and I don't think you should be afraid of it.
I love that. And I think there's always wisdom in finding someone who's further down the road than you are, who can, share what they've learned, because it can be overwhelming with all the resources and all the options. And what do I do about this? What do I do about that? And am I too late for this? And yet doing something is better than doing nothing. And so finding someone that, you look up to, whether it's someone in an official advisor position like you, or someone who's just really intentional with their finances, and say, what are you doing, right? And then be able to pick up the things that resonate with you. That makes
Well, you're
such a
hitting
difference.
on a good thing. Communication, talking it over with a good friend, talking it over with somebody in your family is going to get you thinking in new ways too, and seeing new opportunities. And I think that that's all for the best.
Exactly. I think, and one of the things we talk about a lot in this show is awareness. So often, and this came up in that conversation yesterday, literally the women were saying they didn't even want to know what their credit card statement was. They didn't want to know how much they were spending on Amazon. They didn't want to know that they were afraid to open that up and look at that. Right. And so when you don't have awareness, it's really hard to address where you are and how to get to where you're going without, being aware. And so I think having a written budget that you are reviewing on a regular basis and sticking to is such an easy place for someone to start. Just, do an audit for a month and just pay attention to where is money coming in and how much, and where is money going out and how much. And it's like, think about this. If you've ever had to journal what you're eating, right? Before you put a bite in your mouth, don't you think twice before you put that, whatever that is in your mouth, because you have to write it down. I think the same thing could be true if you're writing down your finances. You're going to think before you click that button, because they make it really easy to just shop now and it's in your cart and it's on the way to your house already, to really think, I have to write this down. And is this really money that I want to be spending? Is this moving me towards, the life that I'm designing and where it is that I want to go? So I think that can be a really helpful tool as well. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. And I think that's a good exercise for anybody and certainly easy to do. But I think a lot of people do not know that. A lot of our clients we find underestimate what they spend. If you say, what do you spend in a year? Well, maybe it's 40,000, maybe it's 50, maybe it's 60. Well, wait, but I took this trip, but I have, oh, I forgot to tell you about my tax bill or whatever. And before you know it, you're way up there. And before they know it, that's the scary part. They really don't know what they're spending. And that's something that we can help them with, or they can help themselves. There are so many programs for cash flow these days, to tell you what's coming in, what's going out, and where it's coming from. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should leave anything on the table. So when I talk to people who are retirement age and they don't tell you about Social Security, and you say, well, do you get Social Security? Oh, yeah, but I don't count that. Well, that could be a significant sum for you. Why don't you count?
Exactly.
Why aren't we counting that? I never
Right.
heard an answer that satisfied me.
So important. And I'm thinking, like, even my own grandmothers, one lived to 102 and the other lived to 98. So I figure if I split the difference, I'm going to go to 100. And, chances are I'm going to outlive, my husband, because I think that women tend to live longer. And so this really is a real thing that women need to make sure that they're intentional about, because we're living longer with, a lot of the technology and medicines and healthy living, healthy lifestyles that we have. And oftentimes, we can be on our own when it comes to later in life. So having these things in place before you get there is so important, and will save so much, emotion and stress and fear and things like that as we're moving forward. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I know there are people who are listening right now and thinking, okay, I need to start doing something. How can they find you? Where's the best place to go to see a little bit more about what you have to offer, or how they can take next steps in really strengthening their finances?
Well, they could go to www.altfest.com. That's our website, and there are different pages for every interest, every group. And there's even an inquiry box. If you want to meet in person, you put an inquiry in the box. And probably we have a colleague, Jesse Frailing, who's going to call you back. And you just tell Jesse that you listened into that, and he'll connect you right away, or just ask for me right away if you want to. I'll be glad to take your call. And you could learn so much more just from, we have little videos there. We have our old webinars there, and they're not old. They're just, we've done them. And, and we have magazine articles. There's a lot to know just from going on there. So it's a nice experience.
Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure to put that in the show notes so that our listeners can go and look at the resources. And that can be like their Wall Street Journal to start with, right? Where they go and get some helpful information and start learning what questions to ask and what things to be thinking about, and what steps to start taking, and how to bring someone like you who knows a whole lot more along on that journey. So thank you so much for being so generous with that. One of the things that I've been going through myself and I work on with clients is a program called the Green Gap. And it's really focusing on, reducing our spending, because like you said, a lot of times there's a lot more going out than we realize. So being intentional with that, investing wisely, which I've heard you touch on as well. And I love this, still budgeting in fun. Because, just like that restrictive diet, if you go zero sugar and you can't allow yourself to ever have a gram, guess what's going to happen when you get that one little bite of sugar? You are going to cave to those cravings that you've been, stuffing down for so long. And I think the same thing can happen with finances. If we're not enjoying life, and once in a while, right, fitting within your budget and within your plan, going out and enjoying, like you said, that dinner, that opera, or that cup of coffee, or, that new blouse, or whatever that is, like those things need to be made a part of the plan as well, so that we are still living and enjoying life, but doing it with purpose in our finances. So I will drop a resource and someone you can email me, Lissa@lissafiggins.com, if you'd like more information about the Green Gap, and I can share that. It's just a very simple tool to get you started thinking about where you're at with your finances. So many good things, that we can be thinking about. So thank you for having this conversation with us, Karen, and thank you for sharing just your heart for women and your wisdom when it comes to money, and putting those two things together to help us. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're listening right now, to not just keep this to yourself. We have friends, we have family members, we have coworkers, we have people who are around us who need to hear these kinds of things in the conversations that we have. So please share this podcast with someone else, so they too can benefit from what it is that you're learning, and truly start creating that life that they love by design. So until next time, I want to challenge you to keep living on purpose and to create a life that you love. And we will see you next time. Thanks so much, Karen.
Thank you, Lissa.